Everyone. Welcome to another workshop by Tiles. So today we have with us Tiasha Sheel. Hello Tiasha, how are you?
I'm all good. Thank you so much for having me, Zara. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to our workshop.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you with us today. I'll let our viewers know a little about Tiasha. She's currently pursuing her master's in chemistry, and she's a great plant lover too. As you can see, she's got beautiful plants around her. You can follow her or on her Instagram page. Her handle is garden_girl_Tiasha. She shares all her beautiful flowering plants pictures over there. So you can check out her page. You're gonna love it. The link to to her Instagram handle is in the description box below. Let's get started for today, Tiasha. Over to you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Zara, for having me. Um, okay, so firstly, myself, my name is Tiasha Sheel, and I just completed my master's in chemistry. I gave my exams. I finished my exams just this week, and obviously, I'm a plant enthusiast. I love
Oh,
plants,
that's
and you can
wonderful.
also Yes, and you can also call me like the lockdown gardener, as everybody
Okay.
calls right now. And I'm also a dancer, and I believe in sustainable living, and I try to create all different kinds of DIYs and restrict from buying new things.
Uh-huh. Lovely.
Okay, so for today we're going to discuss about the flowers that bloom like really nicely during the monsoons. So there's no specific flower like for monsoon, but generally all perennials, mostly all perennials, they bloom really nicely during the monsoons. If I have to name a few, and if there are any new gardener who want to plant something during the monsoons and they want to get some nice blooms during the monsoons, then you can definitely go for the zinnias. Zinnias are they're not perennials, but they are annuals, but they bloom really nicely throughout the year. They will if you will notice that they will have flowers of various kinds and various colors. That is the most fascinating thing about it. I was introduced to zinnias the last year, and I was so shocked to see how they bloom throughout the year. Even during these scorching summers in India, if you are regular with the watering, it will not disappoint you at all. I can assure you that, because I was amazed, with my own zinnia experience. Because what happens is, since they are annuals, they will germinate, and the flowers, they will dry, and once the dried flowers, if they fall onto the ground, again new plants will start growing. So basically, within a year, there can be like two cycles for them, and hence that is the reason why they are known as annuals. They grow during the summers and also during the winters. You can now, this is kind of the right time if you want to sow the zinnia seeds. You can sow right now. This is monsoon. You can do all kind of sowing for the flowers. Also, this is a great time if you want to propagate any kind of cuttings. Supposedly, if you have hibiscus, and you have it, like suppose in your neighbor's house, and you want to propagate that, you want to have that color in your garden, you can definitely propagate all kind of cuttings during this monsoon. Let me talk about another flower, which is the allamanda. Allamanda is a very hardy plant, because I was shocked to see, because I had the allamanda since last year, and it did not have any pest infestation. That was at least in my case, and it's a very hardy plant. It is blooming heavily on my terrace. You can check my Instagram posts. I had posted about it. Even hibiscus, lavender, they bloom very nicely during the monsoon seasons. There are many other flowers that bloom really nicely, like there are the jasmine, variety. There is the vinca that we know, the desi vinca. If we know the desi vincas, they can tolerate any kind of thing, does not matter what it is, any monsoon, any scorching sun. They are like the heroes out there. But if you talk about the hybrid vincas, they will be a little bit more sensitive. You have to save the hybrid vincas from the excessive rainfalls, because there is a chance that they might not survive the excessive rainfalls. There's another kind of flower, like there's this kamini, or it is also called madhu kamini, and this has some very nice smell. If you want to plant it in, entrance of your house or somewhere, then it will be giving some very nice scent. Similarly, you can also have ixora. They bloom really nicely during the monsoons. If you want to have these beautiful flowers, beside the entrance of your house, inside your house, you can definitely have them. Even alamander, they are like, they form these vine kind of, they trail down your gate. If you want to decorate your gate with something that will bloom heavily throughout the year, you can definitely go for alamanders. They bloom very nicely during the monsoon seasons. So as I said about the cuttings in the monsoons, and all the flowers, hibiscus, these are the normal uh, very perennial flowers. Another one is, you can definitely buy, is the Mexican petunia. And they bloom throughout summer, throughout monsoon, and that's why they are the Mexican petunias, and they are different from the normal petunias, because the other petunias, they generally bloom during the winters. Hence, the Mexican petunias also have very nice colors like white, purple, pink, and I really like them a lot. Another speciality of this rainy season is having rain lilies in your garden. I personally craved for them for the last 2 years, and I didn't have them. But my friend, she gifted me the small bulbs of the rain lilies. They have small bulbs, and just very very tiny bulbs. If you plant them in the soil, they can multiply very easily, and if you give them a larger space, they will multiply. And as it starts raining, it will bloom very nicely. They have these awesome colors in pink, yellow, white. I personally have the pink color, but I just love how they bloom during the monsoons. And I think there's a different kind of joy for waiting for a specific seasonal flower to bloom, especially in the monsoons. You will keep waiting throughout the year for this beautiful flower to bloom in your garden in the monsoons. And there are many other perennials. If you talk about very common, like the rose, you can get rose cuttings literally from anywhere and everywhere, from anybody's house. Or if you have somebody, somebody who has these kind of flowers like alamanda, and rose, and there is adenium. It's like, if for adenium, this monsoon is the perfect time that if you want to propagate the adeniums, you can definitely try in this monsoon. They bloom very nicely, and these are all the perennials that I'm talking about. There are also jasmine. There are different kind of jasmine, like there are the mini jasmine, there are the single petal jasmine, there are the double petal jasmine. So we personally, like in my house, like when you enter my house, and on the two sides of my entrance, we have this very very big jasmine plant, and they bloom throughout the year. Definitely they bloom heavily during the summers and the monsoons, but even in winter, they will not disappoint you. They will keep blooming, maybe in small numbers, but they just keep blooming all the time. And it is something which is really nice. If you want to fill your with something, some flowers like this, that will become a huge plant, and it will keep blooming throughout the year, you can definitely have jasmine with yourself.
It's so lovely to
Yes,
have it at the entrance. The smell is so welcoming and refreshing.
yes, absolutely. And they fill these spaces. They look nice. They look so nice in the entrance of your house.
Yes.
Yes. Also, talking about some the annuals that I have that are very much nice for the monsoons, as I already said about the zinnias. There are also another kind of hibiscus. If you want to plant them, they generally bloom during the time of the like September. So you can start if you have got that sapling, or if you have the seed, then you can definitely plant it now, because they generally start blooming during the September, and they will last throughout the winter. And the one that I'm trying to talk about is the cranberry hibiscus. It's a different kind of a hibiscus, and it has this really nice dark maroonish red color, very different from all the other hibiscus. And that is what I'm talking about. If you can get the seeds right now, or if you can get the sapling, definitely get it and plant it in your rooftop terrace garden, or in any open space garden, and you can have heavy blooms during the September time. Especially, when I planted it last year, it bloomed just in the beginning of the Durga Puja that we have in West Bengal, and I was so fascinated by it. Like, they looked so nice in my garden, and everybody, like in my locality, it was not there. So my neighbors, they were like, "Oh, it looked so nice," and I even offered some of the flowers to Goddess Durga. So and that is also a really nice plant. If you want, you can start planting it right now. You can get the seeds, get the saplings, plant it right now, and you will definitely get the blooms in the September or even later. Okay, so coming to some of the things that you do, some of the important chores that you can just do, right, definitely proper preparing for your winter flower bed. This is definitely high time, otherwise it will be extremely late. Flowers like the chrysanthemums and marigolds that are there in your garden, that are growing. Suppose for marigolds, what happened in my case is that I just left the dried flowers on the soil, and now the plant has just grown so tall. So what you can do is, not just to maintain the height, you can trim the tall plants of marigolds, chrysanthemums, and what you can do is, you can definitely propagate those cuttings. So once you cut the marigolds and chrysanthemums, you can definitely propagate them, and you can just multiply the plants, and they will look bushy and very beautiful when they bloom during the winters. So I have some of the cuttings I brought from my terrace garden. So these are some of the cuttings of the chrysanthemum, if you can see, and let me show you one of them. This is one of the cutting of the chrysanthemum, and now let me show you how to cut it. So if you want to propagate, what you need to do is, you can take a scissor which is sharp, pretty sharp, and it will give like a sharp cut. Or what you can use is like a blade or something. So you need to be very careful. So this actually gives quite a precise cut, so you can use this as well. And what you can do is, if you want to be really nice and uh, good with it, you can also use some sanitizer, because it has ethanol, and it is good to sanitize things. So you can just sterilize the blade if you want to avoid any kind of bacterial infection or fungal infection. So you can just clean the blade very carefully, I repeat. And what you can do is, you can just get a cut which is not straight, but at an angle of like at an angle of 45 degree. So it has to be a slant cut, like as I will be showing you. Yes, it will be like a slant cut. I don't know if you can see, it is going to be like a slant cutting, not straight. And what this does is, it provides a greater surface area for the roots to come out. That's the only purpose of it. Next, what you can do is, you can just cut the leaves, because the node is the place from which the leaves come out. So these leaves are not necessary, because anyhow these leaves are going to fall while it is being propagated. It is in the process of being propagated. So anyhow, these lower leaves will be falling out due to stress. So let's not cause more stress to the cuttings. Let's just um, trim these lower leaves. You do not need that much of leaves for any cutting. You just need the top leaves. The lower leaves are of no use right now. And the node, these are the nodes through which the the leaves were attached, and this is the point through which the roots will also come out. So let us remove the.
Can we just, break the leaves with our hands, or do we need to cut them?
No, if you break, what happens is there's no uniformity, and it can crack from within. Like if you break, so if the branches might not be in sharp manner, it can just break just like that. And sometimes when you pull it, that skin also comes out with it. Are you understanding? The outer layer sometimes. So
No, no, I'm not talking about the stem. I'm talking about the leaves that you were just cutting, the lower leaves. Can't we just uh, break it with our hands and remove it with our hands, or do we need to cut them?
you do that. As I said, there is also the same kind of risk in breaking the leaves also. If you are like, see, like this happens. Can you see? Like there's like the skin kind of peels off. So
Yes.
it's better that you use a scissor, just cut the leaves like that. That would be much more precise, and that would be much more better for the cuttings as well. So that is how you can take or make the cutting, and this is the only amount of leaf that you will be required. Otherwise the lower leaves would generally just fall off just like that. And after you have cut it, what you can do is you can just put it in any jar of water, and just make sure that the leaves are not dipping in the water, because that can cause rot in this cutting. So just make sure that uh, there are no leaves of this plant that are dipping. That is why I actually cut out the lower leaves, because if that falls in this water, then there can be like rot. And similar thing is with the marigolds as well. So supposedly, like, this is a marigold cutting, and marigolds root very very fast. Like if you want to watch the roots like in front of your eyes, just keep a marigold in a transparent glass and just see, they will have amazing beautiful root system within just 2 weeks, and you will feel like, wow, they are just so beautiful, those white roots. I also tried it, I think 2 years back. It was very nice and fascinating for me. So I'm just cutting the lower section of lower leaves of this cutting, as I already showed for the chrysanthemum. The lower leaves are not much of a use for this plant. They will only cause stress to the plant. And now I have cut, and now you can just take the blade and just make a sharp slant cut. Can you see the cut? The angle is 45 degrees, and this will actually help in increasing the surface area, and that is the
Yes.
slant cutting. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that is it. And you can put it into the jar of water. Now what is important for this jar of water is that you need to change the water at least every 2 to 3 days, because what will happen is this will just keep the water fresh, and if there is by chance any kind of rotting or insects that are there, that will also be avoided. And that's basically it. And it will also prevent any mosquito larva from inhabiting this open water space, because that is also not very good. So the best is to change the water every 2 to 3 days. That is the best that you can do. And if you are changing every day, there's no question about it, that's the best thing. And another important thing is that if you have to keep this jar of water with the cuttings under bright light. Now When I'm saying under bright light, it does not mean under direct sunlight. Bright light is like a space like this where I am sitting, where there is shed in upon my head, but there is no direct sunlight falling on these plants. Okay, so this is a brightly lit space, and that is definitely needed for any cuttings, because it will help the plant to be alive, because without light it will be in the dark, it will be very difficult for these cuttings to survive. So little amount of light is needed, and too much of the sunlight will only cause stress for them. So we do not want to cause stress for them, we want them to emerge as beautiful big plants. So that is why you have to keep it in a brightly lit space, just as I am over here. And that was it about how you can make cuttings. And if you ask me about how to make soil for these kind of plants, see, uh, even if you are a beginner, if you do not know anything about garden, about what conditions are needed for specific kind of plants, just blindly follow one thing, is that you need to add normal garden soil, one part, equal part of any compost, any cow dung compost, vermicompost, kitchen waste compost, anything that you can get, and with that you can take equal amount of sand. This is the best that you can go with, and this is the best even if you do not know what requirements are needed for any specific kind of plant, because this composition is filled with, when you adding compost, it is giving all the nutrients that the plant will be needing. When you're adding soil, it will be making the soil very much well drained, so there's no chance of water clogging taking place. Hence this soil mixture is the obvious and the very needed soil mixture, and you do not have to think about anything else what the plant needs. If you do not know anything, just go for a garden soil. One part garden soil, one part vermicompost, and one pot of sand. That is just enough. Once you start growing some specific plants, then like over the years you will know the requirements of those specific plants, and the requirements of the soil condition of those specific plants. But if you are a beginner and you do not know anything about soil composition, just go for these three constituents, and that is just great for any kind of soil. And that is what I was talking about for the hibiscus, for the chrysanthemum and marigold cuttings. You can just use the normal garden soil, vermicompost, and sand in equal proportion, and make your soil mixture like so. And then what you can do is, you can once the roots have developed, you can just simply put these cuttings into the soil, press the soil around the cuttings just to support the cuttings that you have just put in there, and just water it regularly. Make sure that your cuttings, once planted in the soil, is at least under shade for at least 2 weeks, because that will help the plant to get accustomed to the new surroundings, to the new atmosphere, help it get accustomed with the soil atmosphere, and hence it will be able to grow its roots further, and then slowly it will you can see new signs of growth in those cuttings. And after 2 weeks, you can definitely, when you are seeing new signs of growth in those cuttings, you can definitely put it under the sun. And that was all about the winter garden that you can start. If you want, you can also sow the different kind of seeds also for the winter season, like as I already said, there are zinnias, there are cosmos. If you want to grow all of these kind of flowers, you can definitely go like sow the seeds right now. There is also dianthus. Dianthus is also a very very beautiful plant, and you can, if you have the seeds, you can sow it right now. And if you just if you can get the saplings, then you can also start that for your winter garden at this point of time. Okay, so now we've got to know how to prepare our winter bed, and how to use the cuttings of our already plants that we had in our with us, like the chrysanthemum and the marigolds. These are the ones that you can get started with if you do not know what exactly to start with your winter gardens. These are the two most common flowers that you can start for the winters right now. And you can while the winter comes, you can buy different kind of saplings like in October, November, at that point of time, mostly in October. Then you will have huge blooms during the December, January, February time. Okay, so there are certain important things that you should follow during the monsoons, as it will be raining heavily most of the days. What you need to do is, if possible, you can use a fungicide just to avoid any fungal attack on your plants. The best is to use a fungicide once in a month time, because that's the best way to be on the safe side. So just use a fungicide once in a month. That would be the best for your plants. And um the best time is before you can see the weather forecast, so you know that before the rains are starting, what you can do is just spray the fungicide when the sun is down, basically during the evening time. And that would allow the plants to absorb the fungicide. What you can do is you can mix a fungicide powder into and make it into liquid solution, and the doses will be written there, so you can mix according to that and just spray it during the evening time while the sun is down. Because if the sun is up, what would happen is the sun, due to the sun rays and the heat, the water that you're spraying will quickly get evaporated, so that would not be easily absorbed by the plants. It would be very difficult for the plants to absorb it. So it's always better to whatever do all the treatment that you want to do in the evening time when the sun is down. You spray the fungicide water on all your plants, let the plants absorb it throughout the day. And if it is raining the next day, it's fine, your plants are ready, and they're boosted with all the immunity, and they will survive any kind of monsoon rain. And that is for sure. And also another important thing is using insecticides, because whether or not your plant is infected or not infected, it is always good to be on the safe side and use an insecticide once in a month. It is very important. Now in making insecticides is so easy, because we all believe in sustainable living, right? So there are so many homemade insecticides that you can use. There are so many beautiful gardeners sharing their homemade insecticide solutions, and you can definitely make those. And another most important thing is that while after a heavy rain, after like a month of heavy rain, you should know and you should understand that the soil is now deprived of all the nutrients that it had, because with the rain all the nutrients are basically drained out. So after like a heavy rain, maybe after a month, you should try to fertilize your plants and try to add some, maybe some just normal compost, like a fistful of normal compost is enough for a 8-inch pot, suppose. So you can increase or decrease the amount accordingly. In this way it will help to enrich the soil and maintain its nutrients level, and hence the plant will be strong and tough and strong to face any condition whatsoever. Also, another important thing I always keep seeing in the houses of the other people, that they keep a plate underneath their pot, and during the rainy season, or even if they're just simply watering, what happens is the water gets collected in that plate under the pot, and that is not at all good for your plant, because if there's continuous water under the pot, it can lead to rotting of the root system. So always make sure that you just empty the plate that is there under your pot, so that the water is not floating there. Just empty the plate, and yeah, your plant would be good to go, because that just helps the plant, it helps the plant to dry up quickly after maybe a monsoon, or maybe after a rainy day when it has rained heavily. So it will also reduce the chances of root rot. So that is also a very very important thing. And if I talk about fertilizing, there are many organic options of fertilizing. The most common that I generally use is the mustard cake fertilizer, and that's one of the best, I think, if you want an overall growth in your plant. That is, if you want new leaves in your plant, because mustard cakes, they are rich in nitrogen, so definitely they will help in the new growth, in new leaves of the plant. So if you want a plant to grow big, go for the mustard cake fertilizer, because they're rich in nitrogen. And another thing, if you want something like, if you want heavy blooming in your plants, then you can go for fertilizers that are rich in potassium and phosphorus. And my source of these, my organic source of potassium and phosphorus, is the bone dust. They are you can just apply the bone dust, like for example, if I say in a 8-inch pot, or maybe in a 10-inch pot, you can use a teaspoon of the bone dust and just spread it around the corners of the pot. Just still the soil, just still very nicely around the pot, spread the fertilizer around the pot, and then just put the soil back down. And always make sure, do not make this mistake ever, do not fertilize your plants when they are completely dry. If their soil is completely dry, do not fertilize your uh, plant at that point of time, because it can cause a shock to the plants. If a heavy rich fertilizer is going to their roots when they are very 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 dry, they will instantly try to uh, take that up, and that can cause a shock. So what is the best method is that just allow the plants, the soil to be moist. Just allow them to be moist. Maybe suppose you have watered them like an hour before, and after that, like after an hour, just add whatever fertilizer that you want to add. That can be any compost, that can be vermicompost, kitchen compost, anything. If you are making kitchen compost, it's the best thing that you can do. You can just add that around the pot. The method is the same, just still the soil around the pot, and just add all the compost, or maybe the mustard cake solution that you want to add. Just add from the side of the pot. That is the best thing that you can do. Another best fertilizer is the cow dung compost. But to be honest, in the urban areas, it has become very very difficult to get cow dung compost. But if you are staying somewhere where this compost is available, please make use of it, because it is one of the best compost that you can the best fertilizer that you can use for your plants. Because cow dung compost, they help with the overall growth of the plants, they cause heavy blooming of the plants, and like it is a very very nice fertilizer. But unfortunately I cannot get it, so I just work with the vermicompost. And then I use mustard cake solution, and also I use the bone dust. These are some of the things that I go. These are the organic options. So if you want something other than the organic options, like for example, you can use DAP granules, and these are the diammonium phosphate. So what happens is they have phosphorus, so it is good for blooming of the plant if you want heavy blooming, and you can use the DAP granules. How to use it? See, these are available in small blackish kind of granules. Suppose your pot size is 8-inch, you can use 8 granules around the pot, and after you have spread the granules around the pot, just water it and cover it with the soil, and then water it. That is the best way you can use. Similarly, you can also use the NPK if you want heavy blooming in your flowering plants. Like for example, there is NPK ratio is 10 26 26. That is 10 parts of nitrogen, 26 phosphorus, and 26 potassium. This all will also help in heavy blooming of the plants, because it has a higher ratio of phosphorus and potassium than nitrogen. So that is also another alternative option. If you want, you can use that as well. And yeah, I wanted to show you something about zinnias. As I already said, I am fascinated with zinnias, and I love zinnias as flowering plants. They are amazing, and you should have it in your garden. Definitely you should have it. So here I have some of the dried zinnia flowers. And how do you know that it has dried and is ready with the seeds inside them? So the best way to know is, if you can see the stalk would generally would have a would turn brownish. So see, you can see this is a stalk and it has turned brown. That's the best way to basically understand that this flower is completely dried, and it has the seeds with which you can start your garden, with which a new plant can be formed. And how to use it, let me just show you. So this is a completely dried zinnia flower, and within this there are seeds. So let me just show you. If you just do like this, all the seeds will just come up. Okay, and they will fly away because it's very windy over here and sunny also. So let me just show you. So uh, I do not know if you
A little to the right, yes. Keep it
oh,
in
it
the
is
center.
very,
Just hold it in the center.
it's very windy. So these are some of the seeds, and
Mm-hmm.
these are the seeds, and they are like, who will not be able to take the best. Take just take it entirely, just take it out entirely with your hand. And what you can do is, this is just a small version of a pot that I have made with a, coconut shell. So what you can do is just spread it over this soil. And okay, it's very windy. Wait, it will just fly away. Yes. And what you can do is just mix it with the soil. Just there's no need to like pour soil over it. Just with your finger, or if you have like a scissor or something like that sharp, just mix it into the soil like that. There's no need to put some excessive amount of soil on it, because that is unnecessary. If you're keeping the soil moist, it should germinate. So once you've just moved them a little here and there, what you can just do is water them. And wait, just water them nicely, keep them in a bright spot, just water them. Also make sure that whatever pot you are using should have a hole underneath, because it is very much needed for a well drained soil is very much needed. So I'm just mixing them up with the soil, so that they do not fly off, or they do not flow off if the water is poured. Just try to mix them up with the soil, and they would just remain with the soil then. And they will not come off if you're watering it, or they will not fly off if there are winds or anything like that. So in this way, this is ready, and this will like germinate within um, 2 weeks. You will see the germination. A detailed video on the zinnia flowers are done in my Insta handle. I have an IGTV video showing my first experience with zinnias, how beautifully they bloom. You can go check it out. There also I have shown the germination process and the seeds, how they look. That was another interesting thing I forgot to mention. You can see water is dripping, and yeah, water is dripping. Okay, let me keep it over here. Another interesting thing about that I wanted to share about zinnias is that I bought zinnias in 2021. I bought the seeds of zinnias. I do not believe in buying, flooding plants, big developed flooding plants from the local market, because that does not give me happiness. That experience is not something that I would like to share. I would like to share the experience from the very beginning, and I want to experience that myself. So that's why I avoid buying flowering plants which are already blooming. I try to buy seeds first and try my hands at it. So yeah, so I first bought the zinnia seeds from a local market just for 5 rupees. Just for 5 rupees, and I and it's very unbelievable, just for 5 rupees, and I got it, and then I planted it. The entire process, how I did it in 2021 in February, is there in my Instagram, so you can see I germinated those 5 rupees seeds, and I got the flowers from those 5 rupees seeds. And you won't believe, I have not bought zinnias anymore after February 2021. What happens is, they flower, the flower dries. What I do, nothing, just pluck the dried flowers and spread it on the soil, and they keep growing again and again and again. I mean, if I calculate in my garden, there are total 3 flowering seasons. Like, they die, and if I spread them again, so like they bloom thrice in a year in my garden, and that is amazing. Have I have not bought any zinnia flower or any zinnia seeds whatsoever. After, like, the first time that I bought it was the last time. I did not buy anything else or any other zinnia flowers. That was the first and last time. And it is even now, if I go up, it is blooming, and I can show you. Just from one purchase of 5 rupees, I have made like so much. And I think that is what is all about sustainable living. Try doing things from, just from the very origin of it. Do not i i do not like it. This is my, like, personal opinion. I always prefer buying seeds and try it myself. And yes, I always avoid buying plants. I have some beautiful neighbors, and they keep gifting me this cutting, that cutting, and all different kind of saplings. And I exchanged my zinnia flowers with them. And I exchanged my cranberry hibiscus, which I said they bloom heavily during the Durga Puja. I exchanged that also with my neighbors. So I think I believe in exchanging, I believe in sharing. And that's the best way that we can nurture the nature. So yeah, that was basically it about my today's workshop, and I hope it was helpful to everyone. Over to you.
Wonderful, Tiasha. It was wonderful. I was trying to keep myself mute most of the time because your voice was breaking when I was talking in between. So I
Okay,
did not
okay.
want it to interrupt you. I think there's a little internet connection problem due to the weather. It's beautiful at your end, as I can see. And
Thank you.
everything that you shared was amazing, lovely. I was all the time, thinking of interrupting you in between and asking you, how did you get your, first plant? Did you buy it as a plant from a nursery, or did you buy seeds and start from it? And you answered that question before I asked.
Yes, yes.
So wonderful. So all the plants, I just want to know. You talked about the flowering plant, but all the other, the the money plant and the crotons and these
Yes,
kind
yes.
of plants that we have, uh, how do you grow them? What was your first plant that how did you get it home?
So, my first plant, I think I got this very small caladium, very tiny caladium bulb, and that I think that eventually died later. So that I got from my neighbor. Like, in our colony, there are so many, gardeners. Not those Insta gardeners, but they are gardeners at their home. So anybody, like, they grow plants, and I got it from them. Even I got a small tulsi plant. I was so much into, like, in 2020, I was like, I have to plant something. I mean, I was so excited at that time. So I got a tulsi plant, and it is I made a it's see, at the back we have our mandir, ghar ka mandir, if you know. And there I made this DIY bottle. I cut a bottle, like chotu sa bottle, into half, and I drew like a ong into it, and I planted that tulsi in that bottle itself, and I placed it in my garden, in our mandir, which is behind. So I think I started with the very basics. To be a gardener, you do not need costly plants to showcase in your house. That's, I do not believe in that. You do not need monsteras to showcase in your house to prove that you're a gardener or something. Like, you do not need that. And perhaps I will never buy monsteras because it is way too much, overrated. But even without those costly things, you can start gardening with anything and everything. You can have a tulsi, you can have a caladium. And what I had, oh, I also started first was this these 9 o'clock flowers. I hope you can understand the 9 o'clock, that
Yes,
they bloom
yes,
in,
yes.
yes, they bloom in the morning. There are porcelain. There are two types of 9 o'clock. I started with that, and just my neighbor auntie, she gave me, and she was like, oh, you want to grow something, let me give you these, because they are so easy to propagate. You can just break a branch and put it in soil, and no matter what happens, if even if it's raining, even if it's sunny, even if it's winter, the plant will grow automatically. It does not happen what it does not, matter what kind of weather it is. So that's what I'm saying. See, gardening is not always about investing in it. It's more of the love, it's more of the experience that you inculcate, or you get through the growing process. So yeah, these are the few things that I started with.
Amazing journey. You make gardening sound so easy and so simple. So did you ever have had any dying plants or plants that did not grow well
Yes,
or failed on you?
absolutely. Yes, I can show you a failing. Someone is failing on me right now. Is this syngonium? This is the one leaf that is remaining, and I'm like, please develop another leaf. I do not want this to die, but I think it will die, because that is very saddening for me, but I think it will die. Another one I had was these what was it called, these trioster. They are some indoor plants, and they have this red kind of leaves, and they are very very humidity loving plants. So I lost them during the summers, this year, because it was so hot that, I mean, the plant couldn't stand it. I think it was called stromanthi or something like that, but I forgot the exact name. And they are the humidity loving plants, like the calatheas, if you would know. They love humidity so much. They were of that category, and I lost that too. So I'm generally a person who takes huge care of plants, honestly. And if something is dying on me, it means that it's very difficult for me to you know take care of it.
Okay, lovely. But I can see, like you said, you started gardening in lockdown, but you have a
Yes.
very beautiful garden. So this is just 2 years of work, hard work.
Yes, this place was empty, completely empty, and my mother always shouts at me, like, I can, as she complains, she cannot walk through this place because of your plants. What have you done to this place? But she is also very very nature loving. She loves gardening also. She's more into vegetables, growing vegetables. She does not like these leafy, but one thing is that she also cares for them. She complains to me, like, I cannot walk through this place, this is very messy, this and that. But if she sees a plant which has dried soil, she will instantly water it. So I think that's just a cooperative thing between us, and this is all within 2 years. If somehow I am busy during my exams, my mom always waters the plant. So yeah.
Lovely, yeah. Once we have a plant in the house, it's like having a baby, and
Yes.
everybody eventually ends up loving them.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, what mediums of planting do you use other than soil? have you tried anything else, or do you just use soil?
See, there are many other ways. Soil is definitely the main component of it. You can mix different things with it. Like for example, peat, which is famous right now, but I have not personally bought the cocoa peat. I have always made the cocoa peat for myself because we have coconut trees just behind our house. So we get those, the shells. We get it all the times, and we have the cocoa fiber all the time. So if I need to mix, what I do generally is, when we are using a pot, when we are putting, before putting the soil, what I do is I put some pebbles underneath, because no, firstly I use a newspaper, so that there is no direct leaking of the soil out through those holes, because you don't want the soil, and soil are, to be honest, very precious. You do not want them to be getting out. Soil is very precious, at least in this 21st century. It is extremely precious, so you do not want the soil to be draining out. So for that reason, I use a newspaper or any paper, and on that I put the stone chips, and then what I do is I use the cocoa fiber, that, as I said, you get the cocoa fiber from the coconut shell itself. So I use that, those cocoa fibers, and I just tear it with my own hands. See, cocoa, what is cocoa peat is basically when you are just making it very cutting it into like very small pieces, and like compressing it, and then they are selling cocoa peat. So you can either use that, or if you have coconuts, like cocoa fibers available at home, you can put that cocoa fiber below, and then what I do is I just put the soil up, or sometimes I even cut the cocoa fibers with my own hands with the scissor, and then I mix with the soil, and I use that in my pots. So that depends whether the plant requires the moisture or whether it does not require the moisture. So accordingly, I use the cocoa peat like that, because cocoa peats are basically known to retain moisture for the plant. So definitely you can go for the cocoa peat.
Okay, thank you so much, Tiasha. That was a wonderful session. Really enjoyed listening about your plant journey. And
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very grateful, and like this is like my first ever live session, and I was excited. So thank you so much for having me over here.
yeah, we can see the excitement, and it doesn't really look like your first live session. You were very amazing. You have explained everything so perfectly that you left no space for any questions.
Thank you so much. I hope it was helpful to whoever watching.
Yes, wonderful. I'm sure everybody watching would have loved it and would, benefit from the tips that you have shared. There were a few tips here and there that you
Yes,
shared that were really useful. So anybody who's starting, into gardening is a beginner can really get a lot of guidelines from your workshop. So let's end it here on this note.
yes,
Thank
yes,
you very much,
definitely.
everyone, for joining us. And once again, I would like to tell you, if you like to follow Tiasha on Instagram, her Instagram handle is garden underscore girl underscore Tiasha. The link is in the description box below. You can check it out and, connect with her personally and share your beautiful gardening experiences.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so
Bye
much.
bye.